Bad Bunny fan?
Yeah, I am a Bad Bunny fan, but my partner Rochelle is a huge fan, and her family, and I would be going tonight if we weren't flying out, but they're going.
Are we talking on the same playlist? Like it's Kane Brown and then it goes into a Bad Bunny song, or do you separate it?
No, it's separated, because my main playlist there's Kane Brown, Luke Bryan, Luke Combs. I mean, Darius Rucker. You go down the line, and so that's my main playlist. But depending on what I'm doing that night, Bad Bunny's probably next.
Well, that's all I need. Anyway, good luck in LA.
There's a stretch there in the third where De'Aaron checks out like he normally would, and Domas kind of gets in foul trouble, and you run without both of them for a little while. Just in hindsight, do you feel like that was like a tough moment in that game, or maybe that you would have handled that differently?
During the game, I wish I went back to Foxy sooner. When I watched the film, man, we got some good looks during that little stretch, and so it wasn't as bad as I thought. But having said all that, yes, if I could do it over again, I would have had Fox on the floor, and a lot of it is not just because Domas was off. That's part of it, but also because if I had him on the floor when I brought Domas back after a few minutes in the fourth, I would have taken him out and given him a couple of minutes in the fourth, and then he could have finished the last 6 minutes or whatever. Because sometimes, when we do this, but sometimes running him 12 straight minutes and asking him to close a game can be pretty taxing. So, just from a rotational standpoint, mostly from a rotational standpoint, I wish I would have done it. Yes, correct.
And the one other thing I was curious about is kind of when you're deciding between Davion and Keon in that backup one, or if it is really just kind of between them there, what goes into that decision and where you're going to go on a given night?
Davion has played well over a stretch, and and Keon did too. But the bottom line is because Davion has a little bit more experience, he's going to have the advantage if they're both playing well. And they're both playing well. And I still have to, because Keon's played, when Keon's gotten a real opportunity, the result speaks for itself. I mean, he's 4-0 as a starter. He does little things that we need people to do, from deflections to being able to guard ones and twos, his length and his ability to play the pick and roll the way he does, and some other things. And so I have to try to find ways to be creative to get him on the floor because he's played so well when he's gotten minutes.
Do you think that it could include playing them together?
It could. It could include playing them together. It could have him playing as the off guard, and then at the end of the day, again, it's up to me to put whoever is playing well on the floor at any given time.
Looking at the last 2 minutes, going back and watching, it seemed like they got a little stagnant at times. Maybe there's like a habit of slowing it down when you guys really play well, when you guys are moving and moving side to side. I'm curious what jumped out to you in the final 2 minutes, what you saw offensively from the group.
Yeah, it was the last 2 minutes. We run a play. Everybody knows what it is, a double high pick and roll with Fox, and so we did that. We also ran our Spain pick and roll action a couple of times, and we had pretty good looks. The one thing in the last 2 minutes that I think we all wish we would have gotten back, there were a couple of opportunities for us to take a shot when we were open, and we hesitated. And usually, and we discussed it at length as a group today, but usually when you hesitate, especially if it's a tie ball game, obviously, and or you're losing, you're going to probably get a worse shot because, the officials let the physicality go a little bit more. There's a sense of urgency defensively. And so I felt that there were a couple of times that we passed up open shots that we should have shot it. And then there were a couple of plays. I know one for sure. I think that was an unfortunate turnover that looked like it could have been a pretty good play to start.
Mike, go for it, Jake.
When you look at the inbound pass that Foxy had with like 36 seconds left,
Yeah.
would you rather him taking a timeout if the play was kind of broken, or are you okay with him kind of trying to make that thing work with Malik?
It was a catch-22. I was trying to count in my head, the 5-second deal, and in the play that we run, HB was in a spot that he's never been in before because we went small at that time, and to see if we can spread them out to open up a drive and kick or whatever. And so Malik basically cut off to the baseline. Kevin cut down the gut, and HB was supposed to post up. Vooch
Yeah.
at the elbow, stepping post. And so there's plenty of, you guys all play the game. You throw the ball over the top towards half court. You just seal them, let the ball pass you, let it bounce, and then go get it. And I hesitated because it looked like that's where he was going to go with it. And that's why, and I should have called it. Not, if he calls it, great. You hope you don't have to call it because it's a tight ball game and you want your other timeout just in case you need one down the stretch. But when he did this, I thought he was going to go over the top to HB, and he went over the top to Malik, and it was just a tough play. So it was, I'll take most of the blame because we had HB in a spot that he's not necessarily used to being in, and I don't know if Fox realized that, HB did have Vooch sealed, and the ball gets thrown over top because we run that play with Domas a lot. You guys see Domas catch the ball at the elbow, and we're good. And so just a unfortunate instance where, again, with Domas fouling out, us deciding to go small instead of having Alex, JaVale, or Trey on the floor. It was a little tougher read at that time, and I read Foxy wrong. I thought he was about to go over the top when he looked that way over the top of HB instead of Malik.
Mike, you've spoken a lot this season about the leadership and accountability needing to come from the players.
Yeah.
When the unraveling is happening, these big runs that you start to go on, whether you call a timeout or there's just a break in the action, what are you noticing from the guys in those spots? Is somebody in particular or different guys stepping up and saying, hey, let's not let this happen again, let's nip this in the bud? Or what are you noticing from the guys in those moments?
We're getting better. Now it's just a matter of being consistent with it. I know down the stretch in a couple of our big games, that we've won, there was a lot of that. Even in the Minnesota game, there was one instance where somebody on the floor wasn't quite doing their job. We had 2 or 3 guys say, hey, come on now, as we talked about, you got to step up. And they turned and they looked and it was like, okay, you're right. And they stepped up. And so we just have to get to a point where there's a consistent level of it. And I think at the end of the day, when you're learning or growing in that area, it's not going to happen overnight, and that's what you hope for is the level of consistency. And when you do, then the sky's the limit, in my opinion.
Mike, with the standings being so close,
Yeah.
going to the Lakers, how pivotal is this game, especially just getting a win on the road before you come back here for 6 straight?
It's big, but all the games at this point, especially you go if you look at the 6th spot, you're 1.5 games out of 10, you're 1.5 games out of 5 or 4, 5 I guess. Or if you're in the 7th spot, so you can go either way in the blink of an eye. And so all of these games are big for us, and they're all playoff type games, not necessarily with the same maybe intensity and the level of detail that goes into a playoff game, but everybody's at a point right now that they're thinking must win, must win, must win, must win.
Do you have an opinion on LeBron getting to 40,000 over the weekend and what it means for the NBA in general?
I mean, it's obviously well deserved. He's a hell of a player, and he's going to break even more records, still going forward, because he could probably play another 2 to 3 years if he wants to, the way he takes care of his body and his mind and all that, and then his talent level. And so, he definitely deserves the recognition he's getting. But I tell you what, I was, call it fortunate, lucky, blessed, however you want to call it, to be around him when he was younger. And the thing that doesn't get talked about when it comes to LeBron, in my opinion, is what he's done for the game off the floor too, not just for the game, but even the people around him, the people in his community. He's such a pillar in his community, and but the recognition in that area doesn't happen as much as the lofty goals that he's hitting. But hopefully one day he'll get recognized for that just as much as he does for his accomplishments on the court.
HB had his 200 consecutive start as a Sacramento King. What does that say to you being able to call to him every single night to start, as well as his consistency and his leadership on and off the court?
Yeah, he's just an Iron Man. He takes great care of his body. Obviously, he's been around in a lot of different situations, so the value that he brings to the table for all of us, not just the players, but for the coaches in different situations that he's been in, is special. And a great human being. So you just want nothing but the best for him and for his family at the end of the day. But the 200 just speaks volumes of who he is as a person and his persistence.